Hello and welcome to the Film Ireland podcast. Today we have a very special podcast in partnership with the Dublin International Comedy Film Festival. We're going to be chatting with a panel of funny women and filmmakers whose shorts are featuring in the really great lineup. The festival takes place on the 29th and 30th of November in the Lighthouse Cinema, and then the 1st and 2nd of December takes place in Generator. We have Zoë Brennan-Whitmore, Jeda de Bri and Aoife O Kelly. So first up, I'm going to ask the three of you to introduce your films.
Great. My name's Zoë Brennan-Whitmore. I am the director of Unhinged. Unhinged is a comedy drama about a millennial woman called Sive, who has just seen the love for life and office crush Dara on a dating app. So we kind of meet her when she has about 24 hours to really tell him whether she likes him or not and swipe right. But the decision making for that is made all the more difficult by these three manifestations of her intrusive thoughts, which make up some of the worst / weirdest men you could meet on a dating app. So we basically have to follow her along and see if she makes the ultimate decision and see if she swipes right. So
the one thing I did not expect to do with those three intrusive thought characters was actually grow to really warm to them by the end of the film. That I was really surprised, because they are sort of the worst of the worst. Was a performative feminist, the gym guy, and the crotch guy, I think he's known as. But they have a really good banter and like very defined personalities for imaginary characters. Talk to me a little bit about them, actually.
Yeah, it's it's funny that you say very formed characters, because obviously they're like really formed through stereotypes. So like it's all about perception and these kind of very singular perception of people that you get on dating apps. Unfortunately or fortunately for myself and Mary, we've done quite a lot of personal research on dating apps. So yeah, so those are just kind of formed through our own experiences. Mary kind of wrote it with those in mind, and it was actually so much fun to do that research and like look into I suppose who we perceive as kind of the mainstay personalities you might see on dating apps, and or who might be the most unhelpful in Mary's situation. Like we're really inspired by the likes of Moon Boy, or like Drop Dead Fred, or like films that have that imaginary friend character, but just kind of flipping that on its head and making them very, very unhelpful. And so yeah, no, it was really kind of important to try and show, even though these are kind of one-dimensional characters, they're intrusive thoughts from Sive's kind of own brain. But it was really interesting to kind of try and bring out a third dimension with them. So yeah, and look, we had like the most amazing cast, like the lads who play our ghosts, Shane, John and Coleman are just absolute comedy wizards, and they just gelled so well. It was, you can imagine, like every day was a laugh on set, and I wish we could do it more.
I would watch the shit out of a series. Like I was so hooked. Like I could watch that long form. I could watch the three of them long form. There's so much heart inside the character and that like emotional honesty. I was like, definitely. And on the topic of ghosts, of female friendship, of dating going horribly, horribly wrong. Let's move on to the next one. Jada, tell me about
Yeah.
Ghosted. And again, like it's so truthful. It's so funny. Oh God, except for your antagonists aren't quite so lovable in this. Oh, yuck.
No, they're not. There's so Ghosted it's an actors creator short. So it was written by Sarah Jane Scott, and I directed it, and and she also performs in it as well. So it is, it's very much kind of the same ilk of the kind of the horrors of the dating app world, but it's more about or it ends up being more about a female friendship, and how you can end up ghosting your friends you know, for something that is seemingly perfect, that devolves into something that is quite cringe and quite strange, you know. And so yeah, it is about Corina, who's our main character, who gets ghosted by a guy on a dating app, and her best friend, who she's been kind of ignoring, is obsessed with true crime and thinks he's dead. So they go on a little investigation to find out whether there's a crime scene at his house or whether she was just rejected. So it is that kind of. But I haven't had any experience on dating apps, so that was very interesting. I had to get all of the experience from Sarah Jane and delve into it that way.
Wow, I'd say you're a unique one to have avoided all that. Well done.
How did you do it?
Yeah.
Give tips.
I don't know. I was too busy making movies.
And found people organically. What, in real life? Amazing.
Real life,
Not like,
reality.
hey.
I should be on them more because I can get more and more material out of them for films.
I know, I was half thinking of downloading something. I'm married, but just saying to my husband, I'm going to create an AI fake face, and I'm just doing it for research because it sounds mental.
It's a good idea.
God, and okay, so now, and Aoife, in your one, what's really good is your antagonist isn't a terrible love interest. It's our lead ourselves. Tell me about Panic.
Yeah, so Panic is hi, I'm Aoife O Kelly, by the way. So I'm the writer and director of Panic, and it's a story about a woman who has left her remote working job, and she now has time to fulfill her ambition of writing a book finally. And now she's all the time in the world, but unfortunately she doesn't anticipate all the distractions that are going to abound both around her and within her. So the film's really about, what happens when you put a lot of pressure on yourself creatively, and how that can kind of lead to, self-doubt creeping in, and then procrastination, and ultimately trying to self-sabotage your own life, and doing anything to avoid the thing that's meant to be done. So while there's a lot of comedic elements in that, there's definitely this growing internalized panic within the character, who's aware she's not doing that thing. So
I love that. And I think the self-sabotage is so vehement when, like, she does get an opportunity and it's there, the potential is there to succeed, and that's half of it as well. But the physical comedy in that as well, and what that is, it's no mean feat to sustain something for that length, to get that across, but to have like really one character interacting with screens. It's it's kind of a testament to your writing and the performance.
Oh, thank you. Also a testament to low budget. I really did want to capture a bit of that time period. Like the film, was born out of lockdown a bit, where it's funny because I was trying to do something else. I was trying to write something else, a different project. And I was finding myself getting distracted, and I was observing kind of the mad things I would end up doing rather than trying to do the project. And eventually, you get into such a block that I started just writing. I was like, oh, this little story. Funnily enough, I did have an issue with my radio that I was like, I think I'm just going mad. I'm focusing so much on fixing this radio now than actually doing the thing that he's doing. So why don't I just make some notes and write a little short and have achieved something there? And then that kind of grew as I was really enjoying exploring the different ways of showing this kind of frustration and self-sabotage, really.
And tell me, okay, so you're writing that, about a character, you're creating the world. How many drafts, Aoife, does that go through?
That one, what the issue with that film initially was, there's lots of ways to try to be funny and make like different moments, but trying to make that into a full story, especially like essentially a one character film, how do you make that into some sort of narrative arc, and where is this going? And I guess the idea was that, like, I wanted it initially, maybe at the end she does achieve the thing, not to spoil the film, but it's more, I felt like that's maybe not so true to the reality, and it's a vicious cycle when you're trying to kind of highs and lows of trying to create something. So yeah, I guess for this particular film, not that many drafts, because it was born out of that, like, observations and just making lots of little notes. And then I kind of, what I do is over the course of weeks, we'll just be jotting things down and then do it all in one kind of burst. And so maybe 2 or 3 drafts, and then just tweaking as I went, and especially when I met the actor and what we could kind of talked about things. And yeah, kind of took it from there.
Fabulous. And actually, Zoe, yours is co-written with, is it Mary?
Oh, Mary is the full-blown writer. I was just in the background. Mary Kirwan is the writer.
Does she develop that separately then with Virgin Media, and then you come on board for the final shoot and get the vision down? Because that project was more of a writers-led one, wasn't it, at the beginning stages, or was it about pairing people together?
Yeah, so it was the winner of the Virgin Media Discovers Award. So the process with that is that you kind of put together a pitch. You don't have to put in a full script. You just put in like an idea and a treatment and a budget and all those lovely things. And then you pitch with a team. So myself, Mary Kirwan, and one of our producers, Fiona Dwyer, put it in together from my production company Heritage, and we got through, which was great. So in the process of that, when you get shortlisted to the final 10, I believe, you get given a mentor, and then you also get a script editor that comes on board and helps you develop the actual script then. And then at the end, when you get to the final, you pitch it in front of a panel of filmmakers, which is very scary. And then when you get through and you get the money and that you get to make it. And so yeah, it was kind of, it's very collaborative. Myself and Mary had worked before on another film that I actually have at the festival called Soulmate Wanted. Funnily enough, both those films were made within a couple of months of each other. So it was like we got to know each other very well, myself and Mary. So we kind of said, after we had pitched Soulmate Wanted and we got funding for that, we saw that Virgin Media was coming up, and Mary kind of had an idea. And the second I kind of read it, I knew that I wanted to make it. So like some of the core themes of Unhinged are about kind of perception, fat phobia, body image, and online dating. And I feel like, you know, there's not many of us who don't identify with kind of body image issues, or I suppose the kind of the pressure that we have on ourselves to like kind of present ourselves in a certain way. And I just was really passionate about the idea, and obviously telling it through comedy as well. Really passionate about using comedy as kind of like a vessel to talk about nuanced topics, make them laugh, and then give them a message. And yeah, so it was very collaborative. But Mary is the absolute brains of the operation. She's the best.
And it's beautiful. There's so much heart in it as well. Jeda, tell me about the writing process of Ghosted then. How many drafts did this go through? Did it look very different, maybe when it was in pitch stage?
Yeah, definitely. So Sarah Jane wrote it for Actor as Creator. Yeah, I went through a good few drafts and stuff, and like, because I'm a writer as well, I was, you know, giving notes and things at a certain stage when she brought it to me. So the ending did completely change. It was a completely different ending at the start, and we kind of, I mean, I didn't do any writing on it, but I just kind of collaborated with her in terms of reading it and giving notes and stuff. But she was fantastic she's just such an amazing adept writer, and she took the notes and she changed them, she made them her own, she made her own vision out of that. So how many drafts, I don't know, but a good few, and she worked really hard on it as well. And I think when you get like a fantastic writer and performer like Sarah Jane or like Mary as well, who is absolutely stunning. Like I saw your other film that's on in the festival as well, and it's phenomenal, Zoe, and I loved Unhinged so much. It's just, you get like those fantastic writers and performers that just have such fantastic vision that is both visual and then they can turn it into text. They are just gems of people, so it's really great to work with people like that.
100%. Work with good people and they make you look good.
That's it. Yeah, and I just so connected, Aoife, to your film as just even thinking about the writing process and like looking at that, I was like, this is me. And I 100%, yeah, it's like a perfect encapsulation of exactly that kind of thing. And I feel like I myself have perched on the side of my kitchen counter trying to fix a radio, at least philosophically.
Oh yeah. I have been like, oh, I'm just gonna go up and like cut that melon. Are you hungry? No. I'll just go up and cut it for later. And you can be like, oh yeah, I think there's some socks on the floor in the other room. And it's always when there's a long form project on the table that I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna sit down.
Oh yeah.
Like you like clean. It's so visceral when you're watching her as well, and she's so natural, Aoife. Like it's just it's that's what I thought was so funny. Like actually that's what I loved about everything. There were ridiculous moments, but actually there was so much played straight, or which I really enjoyed, because it means you're sort of in the emotional arc of what's there and the reality of it a little bit more, because again, everything has that sort of truer themes that they're dealing with underneath all the works of art. So I think it kind of it brings you on board in that way, where yeah, but I really, Aoife, when I watched yours, I did squirm about 4 times, like on her behalf. I'm like, oh no, don't.
I've heard people be like, this is Aoife, stop it, like this is uncomfortable. But actually it's funny, with the 3 films I watched, I feel there is that, like you said, Zoe, with the, you know, comedy, it's tragedy over comedy, you know, but there's all these not serious issues, but very real issues and feelings going on under the surface, but you know, dealing with it through comedy is often the best way to grab it, and life is often tragically comical for the most part. So I'm glad you connected in that way, but I'm sorry I know like some people literally have PTSD from the Zoom call scene alone. I was like, I'm not like, you know, I need to go on in my life and have captured that horrendousness of the Zoom the initial stuttering and all that stuff. So
if you haven't said you're on mute about 4, you're on mute about 4 times in your life, you haven't lived. Like you didn't have a pandemic. Like that was kind of like the catchphrase. So I just want to talk a little bit now about the process of actually shooting it. So Aoife, tell me a little bit about, was this self-funded film?
Yeah,
Wow.
So no, I didn't go through a development fund for this. I think I just had a sense of urgency about making it, and I kind of felt a bit like I'm not doing the other thing that I wanted to do. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to do something to kind of get back on the horse of filmmaking. I'd been a while since I'd made my last thing, and so it was really like trying to keep it as easy as possible for myself, But I thought, how can I do a contained project? So, you know, I just had some of my own savings basically. And then I had friends that I did directing in London, and I'd made a lot of great friends from that. So, and they're all off doing different things, but luckily they've kind of have, you know, my editor who I've worked with on a lot of stuff, she went and she ended up in the NFTS, so she helped me out with the editing, and you know, I pulled a lot of friends together basically, and then shot it in my own flat in London. So but basically did that for 2 days. I don't live there anymore, so it's okay.
It's fine. Doesn't matter if everything's wrecked, everything's great.
Yeah,
it's fine.
No, people thankfully were very respectful. I was very paranoid, but luckily it wasn't too messy a job. Like the sand scene in the thing was probably the biggest worry. I was like, oh god, there's going to be sand and everything. So it really, it was a bit of a guerrilla filmmaking on this one. purely because it was more just a personal challenge and a story I wanted to tell in a contained way. But definitely I would doing something again. And I'd love to hear more about Zoe and Jeda's experiences of, getting their funding and applying for that process, which I haven't really done for short films before. So
yeah, and but I mean, I must say, just watching it, you wouldn't know it wasn't a funded short. I just didn't see a thing attached to it, which is why I was like, oh, I wondered how that was done. And I mean, I recognized Leandro. He was your colorist, wasn't he?
Leandro, Aruka was our colorist for Unhinged.
We have a podcast with him coming up now in the next few weeks.
Oh,
So I was like, oh, he's so lovely. Like, he's so talented.
so
Lovely to
lovely.
see how like gorgeous everything is. But again, it's the polish of it. It just looked so put together. The pacing of it was so good. But it is like, it's a slog. And I think I'm gonna chat with you, Jada, next. But I mean, I know the actor and creator scheme is not is not the check that is written for that. Well, does not cover what I saw on the screen anyway.
That's good. That's good. I think when you work with really cool people, it adds to the production value. So we had Alba Fernandez shooting it, and she colored it as well, and she's just like a stunning cinematographer. So I think you can kind of see that on the screen, which is great. But yeah, it's a small little pot for actors, creators. So you kind of have to really, really get creative with it, which is a nice challenge too. So yeah, it's really nice to see films that are not funded by state bodies looking so slick as well, like Aoife, your film is stunning looking, so it just goes to show you, yeah, definitely more money does help. But it's also the people that make it look great,
Can I just say, and I want to hear the rest of yours, Jeda, just to the cinematographer of mine, Tom Symington, he was amazing, and he was a student in NFTS, and he's such a talent. So he was brilliant to work with. And I'd hate if I didn't mention him. So yeah.
Yes, any plugs, all are welcome. That's what we're here for. But yeah, but tell me about do you know, like, prepping this, because again, it's a very like, it's long, it's ambitious. There's a lot of locations, there's a lot of setups, and like a bunch of different setups that need to get the idea across. And again, the pacing plays such a key role. Like, even how the murder podcast is there. Just describe to me about what's your process in getting that. Do you analyze the script beat by beat? Do you like work with actors to flesh it out? What's your process?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I'd be very actor centric as a director, and obviously very tech centric as well.
And is that your theater background? Because you've done amazing work in theater as well.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's really weird because I did film school. I did IDT originally, so I always wanted to make films, but it ended up that I did a lot of theater as well, because it was cheaper and shorter, and you get an immediate reaction. So people aren't necessarily booing you these days, although they won't laugh if your joke isn't funny, and you'll immediately see it. So and you'll get either 1 star or 5 stars in the Times the next day. So that was a handy thing, in that it was much shorter of a turnaround and cheaper to do, and you kind of get to know kind of when your work lands and when it doesn't. But I always made films in between. It's just a little bit more expensive to make films, so it takes longer. But yeah, so like my prepping will always be I tend to be quite fastidious with it. So I will kind of break down a script with the cinematographer, kind of do a lot of visual references and stuff and storyboards. If I have the editor on board as well, I'll try as much as possible to shoot for the edit. And especially with comedy, I'm sure you guys feel that as well, is thinking about those cuts. Like Zoe, the way that you cut out in the parking lot scene, the car park scene, where all of the boys were around Mary and chatting to her, and then suddenly you get this cut out to the wide. Like, it's so funny, but it's so emotional at the same time. And it's like, I'm sure you did a lot of prep for that as well. Like, I think thinking of the edit, especially with comedy, is so important.
Yeah, it was really interesting for Unhinged. Like I have a bit of a multidisciplinary background. So this is Unhinged is my first film as a director. So I produced before I did Unhinged. But then when I kind of started out in the industry, I did a lot of editing. So that was my way in. So I did a lot of editing and editing commercials and editing kind of like short form things. So it kind of, I suppose I never really thought of it, but I'm sure that might have helped in terms of just shooting for putting it together. But also we had the most incredible editor ever, who was just so good. John Cutler edited Unhinged, and he is just so good. So funny. He's really got such a directorial hat as well. Like he is just like, it was a breeze. So like we went in, and like I was fully expecting like we had a baby on our set. So that was an interesting one. And we had I think it was 10 actors. I don't never worked with that many actors ever. I just shot So Might Wanted, which is our other film, and that had one actor. So it went from 0 to 100, 0 to 10, 1 to 10 very quickly. But when we got into the edit, like when you have a really experienced editor, it's just like he just made me feel so at ease. And I was like, oh, okay, wow. You know, when there's that many actors, you have to get so much coverage. So you're kind of like, it was all go. We shot it in 3 days. So it was just all go for those 3 days. There was no time for thinking, really.
What?
Yeah.
3-day shoot.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Like ours was funded. We were
did your AD survive?
Just about Claire Cassidy. I'd say she lost a few hairs.
Have aged her like.
Oh, I know, we all aged. I've spent the past year growing back my hair. It's been great. But yeah, no, it's funny. Like we were really lucky to have Unhinged funded. But it's so funny how quickly all of that just fades away. You're like, oh my God, this is going to be great. But then it just kind of, especially with Unhinged, one of the things we really invested in was the actors. We made sure, and obviously when you have 10 parts, it just goes very quickly over 3 days. So we wanted to make sure that we had the right people and everyone mixed, and that was the main thing for me. I wanted to make sure that we had the best people for the parts, and then we had location moves obviously and multiple locations, which was
extras
and yeah, so it was definitely a challenge. Like I produced a actress creator short, Jeda, so I know, like literally I know it's like you're going in, you're like, what can we do? But it's so funny. I think obviously as things progress and hopefully we all get the big girl budgets, there's still always things that need to be sacrificed, and you still don't always get the toys. But I suppose when you have the right, or you kind of, when you have good producers as well, they do direct you in the right sense and to what to dedicate the money to. And I suppose each of you, like I'm sure in terms of your actors, in terms of like the kind of production value that you want to put in it, you know instinctively where kind of your priorities lie. And that's, I suppose, the smaller the budget, you're prioritizing like less things, or things kind of come to the fray very quickly. Like I suppose Aoife, I'm sure like that's one of the things I was so curious after watching Panic, like the casting, like that performance is so strong, and it has to be held for so long. Like that must have been such an interesting process. Like, did you know your actress beforehand, or how did you find her?
No, I got really lucky as well, because it was really tricky, because I'm based in London and I wanted somebody Irish accented, and I find it's hard. Like some people who aren't Irish can try and recreate an Irish accent, but it can be quite tricky. We didn't have time for that kind of dialect coaching or anything. So I was looking for Irish actors, and I was the one reaching out to people. So I didn't have quite, because it was during the pandemic as well, it was hard to get, we couldn't do any face-to-face really. So I was trying to get a lot of yeah, just seeking out a lot of people online. And I saw the main actress, her stage name, Roisin Brown is her name. She just had this brilliant show reel that just showed a lot of really naturalistic acting. And yeah, no, I reached out to her and we had a chat, and then basically she came on board quite quickly. But I could tell, I just could see by her other stuff. I don't know, sometimes, you know, if you just see something even within a reel, it really stuck. And then when I was working with her, she was just so brilliant. She was just up for anything, in the sense that, you know, she was like, what do you want me to do? No makeup, grand. I'm just gonna be this mess for 2 days in general. And yeah, she was just very natural, and I pushed that to be as naturalistic as possible, not because you can get hammy quite quickly, obviously, with certain physical comedy as well, you know, but I think the comedy comes from her struggle, sadly, her actual serious struggle. So yeah, I know I had a few actors I looked at, but I really did get lucky there. I think I would have not done it if I hadn't found the right person, though, because I think it wouldn't have worked had the wrong person been on screen, if you know what I mean. But yeah, it worked, thankfully, and
it
even
really works. She's amazing. So good.
Yeah.
Like you said, that could have so easily, like, even just a notch stronger, and it wouldn't feel as real and relatable as it does. Like, she just plays it so quiet. That quiet confidence is so impressive, and obviously from your directing as well. Like, it's such a great performance. Really.
Well, I'll be sure to tell her, and hopefully she hears this. But I was going to say, no, likewise, and I genuinely, that whole thing with comedy, and sometimes it can be too heavy handed, and it was so beautiful, both your performances, because I'm very attracted to that very naturalistic acting, but also your speaking of timing, as you were, Jeda, earlier, the timing of little moments, for example, let's say, Jeda, and your, even just when she was like checking the receptionist's name in a card, and that little flick, or Zoe, like when, with the three boys, and just the bathroom moments, or them looking in the mirror, and just all these little, or the slight eye rolls in the office, just all these little moments, all that is underplayed, but to perfection in a way, you know, because it just doesn't work otherwise, because I think you can just get really sick of everyone like trying to get that laugh in the back kind of thing, you know. So
oh yeah, definitely. You can really burst comedy so easily as well, especially on screen, you know, like if you in any way tried to pursue a joke, it's gone. You know, it's like, I totally agree. It's about taking it deadly, deadly seriously, and you know, hopefully the joke is well written enough that it's funny, you know, and also having a great editor as well for that. Like Keith Jordan edited Ghosted, and he's a writer and director too. I think he does have a short, Jill and Lil Do Knickknacks, which is on in the festival as well. So he's in and of himself a fantastic comedic director and writer, and it's just getting people with that comedic sensibility and surrounding yourself with those people is always really helpful.
Yeah.
And it's really wonderful. I really want to talk about like that sort of like, once you're finished with your shoot as well, finding it. Like, I'm just wondering, you know, when you come back and you've all your rushes and you do your like assembly, and you're like, oh God, it's not quite there. Is it even in there? You know, like that moment. I don't know. Was there ever anything like that? And then finessing it and working with the sound mix. So I saw that you'd worked with Element Post, wasn't it? Yeah. Did they do the whole thing?
So Element did our grade. So Leandro Aruca did our grade. John Cutler did our edit. So it was it's really interesting, like going into that, like, again, it was such a whirlwind of a shoot that I was like, I don't know what's there. And thank God for our script supervisor, Ali O'Teal, or else I would have been completely lost. There were so many times in the shoot where she saved my bacon. She was very, very good. And that was the first time.
That role is so important. I think it's one of the roles that I am like, I will go without a makeup person, even though that's really important. I will shine someone's face myself, even though it is so important and it's part of the visuals. But like without there's so much can go unusable. Like
like unbelievable. She definitely came to save the day a few times, because we had a lot of actors, a lot of coverage, a lot of dialogue. So it was definitely a challenge, and I'd never worked with a script supervisor before. I've never had the budget for it. So it was like just priceless, really. And then when we got into the edit, it was I was like, oh god, it's all there. Wow, there we go. And as well, like John just knew how it was just a really seamless relationship between myself and himself. He just knew how to cut it, and he knew the pace, and then that's also a testament to Mary's writing as well. Like the writing, when it's on the page, when it's written, like all it is about delivering it. So like Mary just wrote a very, very strong, pacey script, and she's so good at that. She knows how to write a short film. Sometimes, you guys know yourself, sometimes it's just really hard to get a good old story in 15 minutes. Like it's hard to sell that.
How many pages was the script though? Because it felt like there was a lot of, out of interest, it felt like there was like just so much like dialogue and bits and bobs back and forth in different sections that I was like, how does this fit on 15 pages? You know?
I think it was about 15 pages. She might kill me now for saying that. I think it was around 15 pages as far as I remember. But also, like, one of the things we were really lucky to have in the pre-production to have opportunities to audition rehearse as well. So I brought in the ghosts and Mary, who was her Sive, to actually play, and there was so much that we discovered through that as well, like so much of the physical comedy, like John with the tampon machine in the bathroom, our feminist guy, like that wasn't in the script, you know, but he brought that in. So like one of the things that was really important to me when we were casting was I really wanted actors who could improv, who were confident to improv, because I really wanted to have that natural flow of the jokes, and I wanted them to be able to bring something that maybe I hadn't thought of. My whole thing is I want you to feel like you can play, and I feel like I want you to be able to discover what you want to bring to the character, and we can work together on that. So we were really lucky. I know oftentimes you don't get that opportunity, so it really made a huge difference on the shoot days that we'd already kind of done that work together, and kind of they'd been able to shape their characters organically before we stepped on set, you know. So yeah, it was 15 pages, I think. I have to go back and look.
Okay, the improv thing makes sense, because I was just like, I could not. There was just, and like so many tiny little moments. I was like, if that's taken up like that much, I was like, I don't know how to fit. And I was like, I want that script like I want that kind of like software that fits all that into 15 pages, because it's just beautiful, and there's so much visually happening on the screen at any one point as well, like that there's like a real energy to it. One of the things, actually, I'm going to chat with you, Aoife, as well. Do you feel like, again, pacing was so important? Did anything change for you as you were editing it? Did any beats become bigger or smaller, or did you have to shift anything?
Yeah, I know. So my editor, Donnie McGuire, who is brilliant, she's cut most of my our short films together. We've worked together a lot. But yeah, so I think because I just had one location, you know, and you guys, oh my God, like I'm watching these, I'm like, how is this whole story in 15 minutes? You've got so many brilliant locations and actors and scenes going on. I can't even begin to imagine it. So for us, yeah, with us, it was like playing with the comedy. Like, for example, the kitchen radio scene, like we did one really long take of that, or two long takes, let's say, of in a wide of her putting it together. And then a lot of smaller takes. And that was so long, that scene. It was like a half an hour in itself, you know, and just really trying to break it down to get that beats just right. So it was quite challenging. There was moments of, and getting the right cuts together as well. Especially it was a lot of handheld stuff. So you were afterwards, you're looking, you're like, oh God, we don't quite have that. We've kind of gone all over the place. But so, you're working to that, getting the comedic timing as well as visually making it make sense. So with those kind of scenes, and again for like the dance sequence, let's say, there was so much of that could have, that was quite funny, and I wanted to have a lot more. And she was really doing a lot of silly stuff in the living room. But you kind of want the joke to be there. And I think the bit I'm talking about when it's
and it's beautifully
heightened, kind of dreamland
and glamorous, and then you pull back and it's so awkward and uncomfortable and cringy, exactly. And she flops over the couch. Like, it's a brilliant, like, that's just a beautiful visual gag as well.
Yeah, so like, a part of me was like, oh, it's so funny what she's doing in this real world. But, once you get the joke, you're like, we just don't need the rest of it. And I felt bad for her because she really committed to dancing around the living room for so long. But so, in terms of the timings, that's the main things. Like, there was only one scene we lost really, because I think, as you guys can imagine, if you're shooting in only 2 or 3 days, everything is precious and you really are trying to make sure it all hopefully can fit in. But like everything, it's like they say, you kind of end up throwing out half the production when you're in the edit and trying to just create this new feeling once you add the music and the sound effects and everything. So but I actually just wanted to ask Zoe about, because you're talking about editing and timing, and because you were limited to 3 days, and you have some scenes where it's like the three Tinder characters are with her and then they're not with her. How much did you pre-plan that, or did you shoot a couple of scenes where it was like, okay, we're going to do a bunch of it where she's alone and when she's together, and played with intercutting that more?
Mm-hmm. For a lot of the scenes where the ghosts were, we would now, Claire Cassidy, our first AD, was like, no, we didn't do it like that. But we did it where Sive or Mary was alone, and then we'd shoot it again with the guys in it, so that we'd always have kind of that coverage. So any angle that we'd shoot her originally alone and then with the guys in, so that we'd have that bit to play with. And it was always amazing to see Mary perform before they come in, and the difference, because even like she's so good. There were so many times where she could definitely have broken character and like burst out laughing, and she just was zoned in. And like, again, Mary, this was her first time ever acting for screen. So she's, again, superstar, so talented. So like, for a actor who might not have that experience, like it's hard being on a set with those lads. They're so funny, but she just knew what she was doing, and she was really in the zone, and she was so brilliant on the day. And again, like being playing it straight against the guys just makes it all the more funny, hopefully. So it was definitely that's what really added to the whole schedule or rush of it all, was because we had to get that coverage, like. Yeah,
but there's so much to get anyway. One of the best moments, and I don't know how she kept a straight face, was when she was being, and I'm not going to like reveal exactly what it is because it's just a very funny beat, but when she was consoled in her moment of grief by a helpful fact by a gym guy.
Yes, yeah, that's
just, the expectation is there, it's going to be something profound, and then there's that nugget. And I kind of think, like, as someone who's kind of been in her position, it's very truthful.
Yeah, like that is honestly one of my favorite moments from Shane. It, like, I just see, even though he's saying the complete opposite of what he wants to say, I suppose, like there's so much, there's just this like little micro expression there that just doesn't match with what he's saying. So keep an eye out if you're watching it, but it's just heartbreaking and funny and heartbreaking.
and it shows like that kind of toxicity in men where it's difficult to connect. But I also think who does a really good job of that is Ali Hardiman's performance. because her like obsession about that, you get, even though her character is like ridiculous, that it's a real problem with self. Like it's a self pain that's there, that obsession stems from. And I think that's why the writing, just across the board was beautiful. There's just so much nuance to everything. Jada, one of the things that I loved about yours was there's chemistry too. Like it's between the two leads, you have like, I kind of feel like it's almost a romantic comedy between them, and you know the male antagonist is there, and you know, like when the reveal is they're linked to basically what is it technically the romantic interests podcast habit. Like
Yeah.
it's just lovely, and it says so much sort of truthfulness. And I'm just wondering about finding again that pacing in the edit, about layering it with sound. Did anything shift for you there? Did anything change?
Yeah, definitely. Like I think you know, there was a lot of setup at the start. So like that kind of the script required a huge amount of setup at the beginning, and you really want to be able to get into the heart of the tone of the piece as soon as possible. So I think that was something within the edit that we were trying to do the push and pull with, is like you know, embed the tone of it as soon as you can, you know. So like I think that was a big challenge. Like even we did a lot of pivots on the shoot as well. Kind of prior to that, we lost a location, or there was a location that was completely unavailable to us, and we had a full scene to shoot, and we were in a park at the time. So I asked, can't remember who I asked. I actually think it may have been our producer Maggie, to try and find a playground nearby, because I was like, if there are swings, we can make this scene dynamic, and we could put one of them on the swings, and we could do it that way, because we had lost like a house, and it was a completely different scene, but we needed to find something that was a good location within about 5 minutes. So she was fantastic, and we found that. So there was a lot of pivoting on the day, and then not as much in the edit, but certainly trying to get that tone right, especially at the start. You really want to start very strong with your tone in terms of a comedy or a horror, you know, like any kind of genre piece. You want to go, this is the genre, you know, within the first couple of seconds. So it's always a challenge to get that, you know, down.
I was going to say, Jeda, like for me, it really took off when the two gals are connected. And I think like there's such a similarity between the performances in both films, in terms of, I just think there's just such that confidence and the chemistry between the two gals. Like how did you kind of fuel that fire, or did they know each other beforehand? Or because I just felt like everything, it felt so natural. They really did like I could just relate so much with that relationship, especially now, like when, especially at the age that they're at, when people are at different stages of their lives, and it's so easy to disconnect from your friend, and really they're our soulmates. I think that's a Sex and the City quote, you know, maybe our friends are our soulmates, and boys are just people we have fun with. This is my culture film background.
Excellent
But
reference.
I just would love to know how you kind of curated that through the process.
Well, I watched lots of Sex and the City. No, it was. I'm so glad that came across. That's great. Like, what was really interesting is that Hannah Jane Scott and Sarah Jane Scott happened to be cousins. So that worked really well. And Sarah Jane had written that character for Hannah, so she had it in her brain the whole time that they would be this kind of a duo. But I didn't get the chance. We did a little bit of rehearsal, but I'm always a big advocate. It's great to hear that you guys were doing rehearsal as well, because my God, rehearsal is fantastic, and we don't get to do enough of it in film. But like we did a small bit of rehearsal, and kind of but it was really when they got on location that we were able to get them to spark off each other a little bit, you know, and making sure that, you know, they had the time to cultivate those two characters and to work against each other, and to kind of you know, get those two tones right as well. And like when we had Ashley Durrell in as well as our receptionist, she's a phenomenal a comedic actor, as well as Adam Trainer, who's our man. Just giving them the chance to kind of sink into the reading of it, and and giving them as much freedom as possible, but, you know, restricting them when we needed to was, I think, you know, gave us that that lovely connection that they had, you know, and treating it like a love story, you know, like treating it like that was the romance. There's like, you kind of, the film pivots and you kind of go, well, no, it's always been a romance between the two women, you know, which is what I love. So yeah.
And tell me a little bit about what would be the one lesson you would go back and tell yourselves afterwards? And I'll let you kind of chime in with this. What, like, that you'd go back and go, oh God, never do this again. Definitely do this again. Maybe next time we'll go for this. What would be like just if you had like one that jumps out in your mind right now, what would it be, Jada?
I think I'll give you a general answer because I think it's something that I keep on learning on every film. And I just learn it harder every time, you know, but it's just trusting your gut, because sometimes I will betray my own gut for outside opinions or outside, and collaboration is certainly at the center of what I do. But when you have an option coming from elsewhere and your gut is saying, no, it's this, if you don't listen to it, down the line, you're going to realize that you're going to remember you didn't listen to it. And again, I'm learning that, you know, every single time it's like your gut is never wrong, you know, and following that. And sometimes it can be really hard to follow your gut as well, you know, especially when you have so many fantastic people around you. It's hard to do that, or it's hard to speak up, you know, and kind of go, no, this does sound insane, but I'm just going to follow this road, you know, and I always regret when I don't follow that road, even if it's wrong, you know. So I think I keep learning that again and again.
And Zoe?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that sentiment. Can I use that one?
Like, no, you have to have another one.
No, 100%. I think we're, you know, so inclined to just second guess. Oh, even just myself personally, like I remember going into it being like, oh my God, let's, you know, you're just kind of, I remember those feelings, and it's so funny because now I see it and I'm like, everything was fine, you know. You're kind of, for me, it was such a mammoth personally, like Unhinged, and then like everything that you're going to bring something of yourself to it, and that's the reason why it's going to be good or successful. And for me, it was, I had to sit and be like, what is the thing that I bring, what do I feel most comfortable in? And for me, I love working with actors, and that was all I wanted, was just more time with them, want to spend more time with them, play, like have fun and go into it and just focus on that and kind of let everything else happen on the outside. But I suppose for me, like I suppose like I try and do this every time, and I think it would be a general piece of advice is just always like work with good people, because I think like good people makes good work, and you're only a very, very small cog in the machine. And I was really, really lucky to work with good people, skilled people, and just sound people as well, because I think like people it's very quick to forget that it's such a long process making a film, even if it's a short film. You're definitely, bar, you know, the actual making of it, you're in this for another maybe 2 years of a festival run as well. So like make sure that you bring good people around you, and people who are passionate about, say, the genre that you're working in, comedy as well, like people who love comedy, people who love that genre, and will just add and bring that texture to the film that you, or that those ideas. I always say ideas come from anywhere. It doesn't necessarily, I'm not necessarily the ideas person, it could be from anyone. So I think yeah, just work with good people. That's the advice.
And Aoife?
Yeah, I know. Well, I think they're two excellent pieces I try to follow myself, and you know, trying to establish at the beginning of the film, it kind of comes top down as well, the culture of on set, and you know how you want people to be treated. And I'm always feel like strongly about everyone is valuable on set, no matter what your role, and everyone can have something to add and you can still keep true to your vision without like compromising that just by hearing other ideas if there's a moment of being stuck, or it frees up the room a bit. But I will say what I've done with actors before that has helped me a lot is kind of gotten to know, not just discuss kind of their own insights into the character, but also their techniques. Sometimes they've trained in different methods, and it's been really helpful to know, you know, how they like to be, like if they want to be left alone, or if they're breaking down, do they want me to check in with them, or do they want to have like their moment, or because sometimes you can hinder their process if you try to be too overly concerned sometimes, or if you're not checking in enough. So sometimes it's good to really just establish the baselines of how people like to work, really with all factors, both actors and people on set. Like lunchtime, some people might want to go for a walk on their own, not want to be in this communal section, or, you know, so that all helps with the culture on set as well. And then I feel like that can add to feeling good on set, being with good people, and then the results ultimately usually hopefully turn out good. So
that's fabulous. Thank you guys so much for chatting with us. I had like 8 other questions, but I won't. I'll let you guys go. Enjoy. We'll be very shortly seeing your films on the big screen in the Lighthouse Cinema and Generator Hostel as part of the Dublin Comedy International Film Festival, a really brilliant festival. Like there's a brilliant team this year. I would heartily recommend anyone who's a fan of good crack, good company, jokes, humor, but like camaraderie. I find it like a really welcoming, fun, social film festival. It's not because it's in 2 separate hubs. There's a real like in between films, people kind of hang around and chat, which I love. I think it's a great thing to have because, you know, comedy is so uplifting. It's lovely to share it. But yeah, no, these are 3 beautiful, funny, relatable, heartbreaking at times films that will be really enjoyed on a big screen. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for having us. I appreciate it.
Good luck.
Can't wait for the festival.